Hey everybody, this is Alex Merced, and you're listening to one of several podcasts. I'm going to be posting this episode as an episode for Web Dev 101 for Data Nation. So again, Web Dev 101 is for web development and web developers. Data Nation is more geared towards like data engineering and data analytics, and then also on developer advocacy and DevRel, the podcast, which is geared more towards DevRels and dev advocates in either space. Okay, and the reason is because I think everyone can benefit from the topic that I'm going to be talking about today, which is sort of just understanding your marketing department and understanding sort of like, because oftentimes there's all these different departments when you work at a tech company. Generally, you have your engineering department. They engineer the product, they write the code and build the product out. But then the things that you need sort of a team that makes sure that the product that's being built is the product that potential customers need. Because engineers could potentially build things that aren't needed by end users or prioritize the wrong things. So that's why you have a product department. So you're gonna have product managers who really are, meeting with customers to kind of, understand sort of what their pain points are, and basically be a sort of funnel between customers and engineering to make sure that the product evolves in the way that customers and potential customers will help grow the business. Okay, so you have the product department. Then you have the finance department handling all the financials of making sure that the company is funded and the money's there to do the things. And you have HR handling, making sure that, you're compliant with all the labor laws and people are being hired and their paychecks are being processed and that the company culture is good and, you're meeting all sort of compliance needs and any kind of requirements for training, et cetera, et cetera. And then we get to places like the marketing department, which again is there looking for those potential customers. Okay, so now if you're a data engineer or web developer, you're probably working in that engineering organization. Okay, maybe you're a product manager and you're working in that product organization. Now, if you're in a DevRel, dev advocacy kind of role like I am, you oftentimes find yourself interacting with sort of all these organizations on a very, very regular basis because you're kind of in this role where you are, having to be a liaison between all this and sort of like the general public, especially like, again, as a developer advocate, my job is to put content out there that's going to help enable people to use a product, not only enable them to use a product, but to see the value of a product. And, sometimes that's going to require me to go talk to engineering to get better insights into certain nuances of the product, to, be able to create the content that might capture an angle that is necessary or missing in the public sphere. Or dealing with the product to kind of understand how the product is evolving, or to, when I get feedback from people in the field who consume my content, to, again, relay that feedback to them so they can factor that into their evolution of the product. And you're dealing with marketing a lot because you're creating content, and sometimes that content is not just advocacy content where you're just, putting out, sort of information, but you're also helping, communicate and evangelize the product itself. And you're working with sort of the marketing people. Okay, and so I just kind of wanted to talk to that because again, for the DevRel dev advocates, you're working with all these departments, so it's always kind of good to kind of see the big picture. If you're a data engineer or web development, it's kind of good to understand that sort of other side of the business, even if you're not directly working with it as often. Okay, so bottom line is products. Everyone, ideal world, you have what's called like product-led growth, where people use the product, they tell their friends about the product, and you have this sort of like organic growth. That's ideal world, okay? And that's generally achieved by having sort of like not a good user experience, but an amazing user experience that is so compelling, offers such a unique value that people just go out there and like pound the pavement for you, okay? The vast majority of tools, that provide great value aren't necessarily always going to have that, because one, you're going to have a lot of other people trying to create the same value as you, so you're going to have multiple competing products that make that relative value that you provide not quite as sharp as it is if you were the only one. Okay, so I'm thinking, if I'm talking about like Notion and Trello, like I love Notion and I love Trello and I enjoy Asana. I definitely enjoy it as well. But like for example, like probably my personal favorite is Notion, and to me is like just like the experience of using Notion wasn't just good enough. It was I felt like there was a lot of extra stuff that made me sort of, like talk about Notion as a user to other people. Although again, I definitely go out there and speak to the benefits of Trello and Asana as well, which I do use in my daily sort of workflows. Okay, but so again, that sort of product-led growth requires sort of like ideal execution. So the point is, my point I'm trying to make is you can't depend solely on that. Okay, you can't depend solely that your product is just so amazing that everyone's just gonna obviously see why it's so valuable. So you need to go out there and you need to go speak to that value. You need to go talk to that value, and you need to talk to the people who can actually benefit from that value. And this is where marketing comes in. Okay, trying to figure out, okay, who is that target audience? So if you've ever taken a marketing class, you've probably heard of like the 5 Ps. So I always forget all 5, but it's like product, like what is your product? Do you have the right product? Place. Where do people find the product? Is it a place where they're looking? Okay, what is the price? Is it a price that they're willing to pay for that product? Okay, and so forth and so forth. I forget the other 2 Ps. It's been a long, long time since my undergrad. But the point is, you have to think through these things, okay? You don't just sell things in a vacuum, okay? This usually, where a lot of products fail is that they have the hubris of thinking that their product can itself is enough. And same thing, like during like my brief experience with like politics and other industries, is like usually where mistakes happen is when people just believe that, hey, the value of the thing that I'm presenting should sell itself, okay? And don't take a real active role in the actual selling. And it's not. And the idea is really, at the end of the day, selling is just making sure that the people who can value the thing that you have are aware of it, okay? And then that you've clearly articulated them the value that they can get from it. Okay, it's not just telling everybody about your thing and hoping that hey, everybody should have your thing, because not everybody should have everything. Okay. Okay. So I've kind of gone over like conceptually enough. Okay, but bottom line is you want to generate what's called which is funny if you're a developer, SQLs and MQLs. So what's an SQL? An SQL stands for a sales qualified lead, okay, and an MQL stands for a marketing qualified lead. What's the difference? Okay, so a marketing qualified lead, put it sort of very, very high level, because again, every company's going to kind of say define an MQL differently, depending on sort of like their particular sales process. But the basic idea is that these are people who have matched the profile that the company thinks these are the people who would benefit from our product and have demonstrated interest in a solution. Okay, how do they do that? Maybe they signed up filled out a form for what's referred to as a gated white paper. So what does the gated mean? It means that they had to fill out their email and name and who they are in order to access the content. White paper just being sort of a PDF document that isn't quite a book. It isn't a web page. It's just a thing you can download and read on a particular topic. Okay. So there's gated, ungated. Ungated, they don't fill out the thing. Then there's other ways to kind of figure out who they are. Assuming you already kind of have their information, then you can use things like Facebook. I would say Facebook Pixel's the kind of thing you would use, but the idea is like these little like website monitoring things. So, but that's an MQL. So the idea is like they haven't said, hey, I want your product, but they have demonstrated that they have an interest in a product like this because you have put out content that speaks to the pain points and potential solutions, and they have consumed it. Okay, so again, this could be white papers, webinars, all this kind of stuff. Okay. They register to come to an event, a live event, or something like that. So the idea is that they've demonstrated some sort of interest. So thus they were qualified via the marketing process. So then generally those MQLs will then go over to the sales team, where they're going to be handled by people in sales. And the goal there is to turn them into a SQL, a sales qualified lead, where basically now someone has had the conversation with them. They actually do have an interest. They do legitimately have the problem that you're trying to solve, and they are clearly interested in exploring whether you're the right solution for them. Again, you haven't made a sale yet, but you know that there's sort of that like that next level thing there. Okay, because you're going to see this terminology across multiple companies that you'll work for in your career and whatnot. So I figured, okay, and again, how you define an MQL and SQL is going to be different from company to company. Exactly what is your content strategy or event strategy for gathering, creating those will be different from company to company. But that's the general idea, okay? But again, everybody kind of is all working on the same mission of being a successful company. You need between engineering and product, you need to create the thing that people want to use, okay? And then between marketing and sales, you gotta let people know that the thing exists and that it solves their problems, okay? When everyone works together, and then again, as like a DevRel dev advocate, I'm kind of working on both ends where, whether it's helping people who already use the product use it better and understand things that they didn't understand before about the product or adjacent technologies, or putting out feedback on the product engineering side, so that way they can gathering feedback and relaying it to them to help them make a better product, or assisting the marketing and sales side, whether it is sitting in on a meeting for with a potential customer and answering questions, or helping produce content that can help generate those marketing qualified leads. And then again, content that is just out there to earnestly just be consumed to help people understand the space. So again, as a DevRel dev advocate, you're generally going to be touching sort of like this whole giant window of the company, okay? Which is why I personally really love being in this particular role, because it's nice to sort of get my hands dirty in all aspects of a business. But hopefully, if you are a DevRel dev advocate, this is to help giving you some more perspective on how all the pieces fit together. If you're on the engineering side in web dev or data engineering, and hopefully this gives you more perspective, sort of like how all the pieces fit together. Again, a lot of times people have like sort of like this awareness of all these things, and they're focused on sort of their thing, the thing that they're doing. Hopefully this just kind of gives you sort of paints you like a bigger picture. My name is Alex Merced. You are listening to Data Nation. Again, if you not only Data Nation, you also listen to Web Dev 101 and DevRel Dev Advocacy. Again, if you're listening to Web Dev 101, head over to devnursery.com and sign up for the Slack community there. Feel free to send me questions and requests for episode topics. Same thing if you're on the data side. Head over to datanation.click. There's a Slack community there, and again, you can send me messages far as what episodes you'd like to see, questions you'd like me to answer on future episodes. And again, if you're on the DevRel side, you could join either community, depending which one's more relevant to you. But there are some really great DevRel communities that are already out there on Discord that I will recommend that you seek out the inviters and join. Otherwise, have a great day and enjoy. Have a great day, and I'll talk to you all soon.